if we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm gonna get washed in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
Radio. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome into the Newhouse Sports Media Center for this edition of Newhouse Afternoon. We are live streaming on QSportsTalk.com. We're also on ESPN Syracuse 97.7. Connor McGann, James Wildhack, Jake Lazarus for the final time this semester. We're so happy you guys are here with us. It's April. It's snowing outside, and it's supposed to be lacrosse season. But the last couple hours and the last week in college football has been one that you have to talk about. We'll start with Syracuse. Out of nowhere, Syracuse Orange wide receiver Jabor Pena has entered the transfer portal. Just a couple months ago, Coach Fran Brown named captain. He was to be one of the biggest parts of this offense next year, and now he's gone.
Yeah, he had over 900 yards of production through the air last year. He was such an integral part of the offense. Jeff Nixon did a great job using him in motion schemes, helped Kyle McCord process things, and you really look to him to step into that wide receiver one role throughout the year. It's a big blow for the passing game, who's already lost a lot of production throughout the year, and there's a lot of questions kind of looming about the reasons behind it as well.
My favorite looking towards the future, though, there's guys like Demetrius Samuel Jr., there's guys like Justice Ross Simmons. Like, we're going to see some new guys step up, but it's kind of a bummer hearing so close, or I guess so soon after the spring game, a guy who played in the spring game just 48 hours ago, whatever it is, 72 hours ago, and now he's on his way out. So it's kind of a bummer, but we'll see who steps up in his place.
Earlier today, Coach Fran Brown was asked about it, and he had a great quote. He said, "First off, I love the kid. We paid him enough. He was going to get paid more. There were some numbers that was asking me that I didn't think would be able to do." You can hear that full interview on Q Sports Talk on YouTube. Coach Fran Brown talked about nearly everything from the Jabor Pena situation to this next team, and of course the quarterback one that they added, Ricky Collins. When he says that, you can tell that Coach Brown obviously loves his team, and he's obviously at a disadvantage with Syracuse because when you have a top player like Pena, a player that has 3 games with 2 or more touchdowns, specifically plays against Miami that has a lot of NIL money and goes off for 6 receptions, 128 yards, and 1 touchdown, a team that a lot of insiders believe Pena will end up on. Coach Brown is in this interesting situation where he's having great players, he's having success, but when it comes down to financial and it comes down to logistics, Syracuse is a little behind the 8 ball, specifically in the ACC.
Yeah, it's interesting. Miami has paid a lot of these guys high figures, Carson Beck being the poster child of that.
Don't forget about Cam Ward last year.
Cam Ward a year ago. Carson Beck getting an NIL figure of about $4 million plus whatever he'll earn in incentives. That'll be well over like $8 to $10 million. So it's super interesting to see what Miami is doing in this space. But I think coaches like Fran Brown or Josh Hoople down at Tennessee, what the stand that they're taking is good for college football. I think it's telling these guys that, hey, our program isn't just about money. We're not looking to pay you to stay. We want guys who are committed to us, committed to Syracuse, committed to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We want guys who want to wear, in both cases, want to represent the orange in the community. So it's interesting that I'm very proud of what the coaches' stands have.
I agree with that point, but to counter it, that's the problem with college football right now.
I agree.
It's a numbers game. It has nothing to do about where you commit it, has nothing to do about building, has nothing to do with getting better year in and year out. Right now, it's who's offering the most money, who can help me out financially, and that's where I'm going to. Now, it's great that college athletes are getting paid, and I love that this is something that's a part of college sports because it wasn't for way too long. However, there needs to be some type of governing body. There needs to be some type of union. Something must be done to prevent this because this is pretty much tampering. When it comes to Pena, this is tampering. And this is Syracuse's #1 guy that's just gone out of nowhere.
And Fran mentioned it too during the interview on Q Sports Talk. He was talking about coaches who are tampering with his players. He said, I'm going to find you guys and I'm going to come after you guys. You guys said it perfectly. There's no governing body for college athletics right now. The NCAA has no authority or no power when it comes to these issues. There needs to be a constant set of rules that everyone is playing by because the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, we're all playing different rules. It's a tier system based off of money, which isn't what college athletics is supposed to be. I think there's a middle ground where the athletes and the institutions can do something like the revenue split where everyone makes what they deserve, but there's a consistency throughout it.
The struggle is you have two conferences that are clearly more powerful and have more money than the rest of the country.
A lot of public university funding,
a lot of
too.
public university funding. So I think college football eventually will split into these two groups. You have the haves and the have-nots, right? You have 64 college programs, eventually what it'll turn into, because 64 is a nice whole round number. You'll have about 64 programs who have money to spend on players and who have money to spend on their program continuously. And then you have the rest of the schools who don't necessarily have the same level of income or revenue coming into their program to spend on players. So it's a really, really, really complicated problem, and one that won't be solved in the next year or 2 or 3. It'll take time to sort out who goes where, which of these schools are part of those haves, and which schools are part of the have-nots. And I think the time is now for Syracuse to decide we are going to pour money into this program. I mean, at the Falk College of Sports Management 2 weeks ago, they had an NIL summit where they were teaching student athletes how to manage their name, image, and likeness, how to negotiate contracts, how to figure out brand deals, and all that good stuff. So it's really about Syracuse deciding we are going to be a part of the future of college football and going after this high talent.
And they have. And that's the number one thing that I think people need to talk about. Let's just talk about a couple weeks ago. Syracuse opened up the new Football Performance Center that is absolutely breathtaking.
It's state-of-the-art.
And not just a state-of-the-art program. Let's bring back Dwight Freeney to the program. One of the best players ever to wear the Syracuse orange and blue. Coach Fran Brown wants players like that on his staff. Of course, the celebration, we had the chancellor, we had our athletic director, Scott Hansen came back to talk. That's what it is. That's what Syracuse needs to push to get the alumni back and to get people excited about this football program. Fran Brown's been dealt a difficult hand dealing with the Clemsons, the Miamis, the Virginia Techs, the North Carolinas now with Bill Belichick in the conference. But I think if you were able to take a step forward instead of a step back, these are your competitors. He'll do a great job.
And you look at the football center, too. Hey, all of the money that was for this football facility was donor money. This was all raised. So this was a capital project by the athletic department. They raised $150 million. So you talk about Syracuse not having a donor base. This is something that's going to be here for the next 20 to 30 years. And it's not only going to benefit our football team. It's going to benefit all of our Olympic athletes and their sports as well. This state-of-the-art center is a staple of South Campus now, and it's going to help continue to grow the Syracuse brand nationally.
I love to see it. It's awesome. Have you guys been over there yet?
Yeah, it's great.
It is incredible.
And they got the retro games, too. They got the big that's my favorite part of the whole thing.
For anyone that hasn't been over there yet in the Syracuse area, it is incredible. It's been under construction for
a while.
But to see everything complete, to see everything inside is stunning. So I'm super pumped to see what kinds of guys they bring in to this program in the years moving forward. We saw Kyle McCord come in last year.
And we got the #1 defensive player in the portal, the cornerback from Fresno State, transferring right now. So, again, you're losing talent like Trevor Pena, which hurts. But you can never count out Fran Brown.
No.
His ability to create genuine relationships with the players, plus a new state-of-the-art facility and a continuing resurgence of a Syracuse alumni network is a great thing for this football program when you look towards the future.
And you are right. The people leaving this program is important and one that leaving tough shoes to fill. As you said, Pena is the most notable. Jackson Meek, unbelievable playmaker from McCord in the offense. Oronde Gatson, you know his name way too well by now. Excited to hear his name called on draft day next week. And of course, LaQuinn Allen Jr., just a workhorse in the backfield. But like you said, and Syracuse put out an interview with the recruitment staff yesterday, and they asked them, what's the #1 questions that players come to? And when they decide to commit, why is it Syracuse? And it's Coach Fran Brown. He makes those unique connections. He connects you on a player-to-coach basis, and he's a guy you want to play with. And that, I think, is so important. When you have the right guy at head coach, when you have the right guy leading your program, it's just going to be filled with success. Is that always going to be on the field? No. But as you mentioned, helping them in the future, of course, he has his finance classes that Coach Fran Brown's pushing forward. It's what are you going to do after? Because let's be honest, Syracuse is a great program. Not a lot of these guys are going to be playing on Sunday, but setting them up for success in the future is what makes Syracuse University different.
And you talk about those people who are leaving too. I want to bring up a name and give someone recognition. If you look at what college football has been the past few years, think about LaQuinn Allen's situation. You sit behind an All-American running back for 2 years, you show out in the bowl game against Minnesota, you come back, you have some issues with the university, which you settle out. There were so many opportunities where he could have left. There were other schools that wanted him, bigger programs, could have taken more money. But he wanted to build a legacy at this university. He's one of the best running backs in the history of this university, which has one of the most esteemed running back alumni group in the entire country.
Pretty good group to be a part of.
It's a pretty good group of people. And he's plastered all over this new facility because of the legacy he left here. That's the differentiation between a player like Pena and a player like Allen. And that depends on on the culture that you build, and Fran Brown is building that culture where you want to come back. Are you going to go 100% from the field on your players? No. It's smart. I understand it. You want to maximize the value you can get to. You have a family. You have a future ahead of you. You can't blame someone for what it seems like taking more money. You can't blame that, but there's also the contrast of the tradition and the history of the college athletics as well. So it's a very interesting thing, and I think, again, over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a middle ground somewhere between the two.
Are there any big-name transfers out there, like the Nico from Tennessee or like Jaden Ott from Cal? Are there any big names that I need to keep an eye out for moving forward into the fall, or into the summer, then to the fall, that you guys can think of off the top of your head?
I would say the guy from Fresno State, the cornerback, definitely. I've seen rumors of Nico coming to Syracuse. I don't think his camp and Fran Brown would be the best of friends, in all honesty. I would love to see how that happens, but I don't know. I think if you want to look towards Syracuse continuing to build in the trenches. Fran Brown wants to run the ball. He wants to get stronger in the trenches. Check out the O-line, the D-line market. That's where games are won, at the line of scrimmage. Fran wants to have a physical team they want to hit. I would continue to look there throughout the spring transfer portal period.
And as you mentioned with Nico Iamaleava, that makes that first game next year a little bit more interesting. Tennessee will be without their star quarterback, just a redshirt freshman who led the Volunteers to the college football playoff. Of course, they lost to Ohio State. But Josh Heupel's team down there in Knoxville has some interesting questions they have to figure out. When we come back, Rory McIlroy finally answered his questions. Yes, he can win the green jacket. We'll be back right after this break on Newhouse Afternoon. You're listening to ESPN 97.7, and we're live streaming on Q Sports Talk on Twitch.
So clean.
Yeah.
So who are you rooting for on Sunday?
Patrick Reed.
Going into it?
Yeah.
Well, I had Rory, so I was happy with that. I wanted a really good Masters.
That's fair.
Jordan Spieth's my favorite golfer ever.
It's always Spieth.
Just grew up with him.
That's fair.
My mom worked for AT&T, so he's a huge AT&T guy. And just watching, I try to model my short game off him. And also, just seeing your favorite professional golfer having meltdowns on the course. It's like, dude, this guy's awesome. And I went to the Ryder Cup when it was at Liberty National with him and Reed. And
that wasn't that was President's Cup,
Excuse me,
not
President's
Ryder
Cup, right?
I was there, actually.
We'll get to Ryder Cup talk, because USA is going to be in a little bit of trouble with the way the Europeans are playing right now.
I don't know. It's going to be great.
Yeah, you got Captain
Rory
America.
McIlroy,
You got Captain America.
John Rahm, Ludwig Edberg. This is a really good European team who just put us in our place when we went over to Europe to play them.
I know, but that was 3 years ago. We got, I don't know. Crazy stuff always happens.
2 years ago.
Sorry. Crazy stuff, crazier things have happened in the Ryder Cup.
I'm just saying right now, if you look at the Masters leaderboard, you're like, wow, the Europeans are playing unbelievable.
Yeah. The fact that could Patrick Reed make this team?
No, he will not.
I'm just saying,
he could, but
it's Captain America.
When you look at Keegan,
he hasn't been good.
When you look what Keegan's going to do, Keegan's going to take probably 2 live golfers. DeChambeau's, he's not taking himself.
What if he does though?
He's going to take DeChambeau and Brooks.
He's ranked as the 14th best golfer on the planet.
It's a long way till September. October.
September.
Yeah,
September.
I mean, right now the locks are Scotty, Morikawa.
I
should look up the World Golf rankings.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, Bryson DeChambeau will be there.
I'll be so you're
Scotty, Xander, Colin, JT, Spieth is going to get there no matter what. He just has the experience.
Bryson.
He'll be a captain's pick.
Bryson. Russell Henley being the 7th golfer in the world is insane.
I know. He's going to make. So how does it work? It's the top 8?
It's the top 6. I think it's 6 and 6. Top 6 in the rankings, and then top 6 of captain's picks.
According to ESPN, Keegan Bradley is the 19th best golfer in the world.
Really?
How do you – I mean, it would be really egotistical to pick yourself, but like –
I think the only person who could pick themselves and no one say anything was Tiger, and he won the President's Cup.
I know, but Keegan could do – there's no argument for –
I think it's really tough to, 1, win – 2, win in Bethpage with the New York crowd. You have to win. Everyone saw what happened to Jim Furyk and Zach Johnson when you lose. That golf media goes after you, specifically the Americans. And I think controlling the team, going to hole for hole while playing in it is something that just doesn't work. I mean,
how do we feel about I'm just gonna throw out some names.
If you say Zach Johnson, I'm gonna shake my head at you. Okay.
No. We know Bryson's gonna be a captain's pick if he's not a top
Bryson's
6.
in. Brooks is probably in as well.
Patrick Cantlay.
Maybe. Max Homa, I think, is probably get there.
You guys got to mention James
Wildhack
Wildhack at some point.
How about Brian Harmon? Guy who somehow competes in every major. Like
off the tee, let's put Brian Harmon and Scotty Scheffler together off the tee, and let's see what happens.
That'd be interesting.
We got like Sahith Theegala. What if Theegala or Batia place top 5 in a couple?
It's all about
majors?
experience. I mean, Justin Thomas, no matter what he's playing, is going to be there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Spieth is there.
So before we go into this segment, I have to ask. So you're rooting for Rory?
Rory.
I'm not a Rory McIlroy fan. I'm not. I thought it was awesome seeing him win. I'm just not a Rory fan.
The best Masters since Tiger, and since Tiger, I can't name one.
Since Tiger and then Jack in 86.
Spieth in 15 was awesome for me.
The ultimate collapse. The
for who?
When Spieth collapsed.
That was not fun to watch. That was not fun to watch.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I will never forget that day of golf.
I remember it vividly. I remember the 12th hole vividly.
Yeah, it was one of the all-time golf collapses.
No, there's like 3 others I can name immediately.
But not as iconic.
Phil at the U.S. Open, the guy in the British Open, Dustin Johnson at the U.S. Open twice.
7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. My name is Jake Lazarus with Connor McGann and James Wildhack. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more info. Great weekend of golf. Big time Sunday, probably the best Sunday at the Masters that I can remember in recent history. Rory finally got it done, the career Grand Slam. Were you guys watching, Connor?
I mean, how can you not? First of all, it's Sunday at Augusta National, and 2, Jim Nantz on the call.
Oh, beautiful.
There's nothing better. And the storybook that this Masters had, for me, I've been watching the last 19 Masters, and obviously it's a tradition unlike any other for various reasons, but there has been times where it has not lived up to the hype. This one did. First of all, you enter with Rory and DeChambeau going back and forth. Rory double bogeys the first hole, rather, and right there his 2-shot lead's gone. And then just the trend of Rory. Is it going to happen again? Is it Pinehurst all over again? He's going to miss that 3-footer. That he did in regulation, but just a roller coaster around. I mean, Rory having 99% chance of winning the Masters, then he double bogeys 13. The way that this Masters went could not have been any better. Scheffler in the mix. Ludwig Edberg, just his second Masters starts right there in the top 5 until the 18th hole happened.
2 top 10s.
As a golf fan, you have to love it. And I think as a sports fan, just the storybook itself. Rory's been at 17 Masters. He's been waiting for this opportunity for the Grand Slam. In the press conference, he literally said, I'm going to start this off by asking all of you questions. What are you going to ask me next year? Because I finally did it. He joins Gene Sargent, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. Only golfers to capture all 4 major championships. That group itself is one of the most elite in history.
Yeah.
The fact that Rory has been thinking about this since 2011 when he had that 4-shot lead, Vasper in a second on the second 9 of Augusta. Amazing storyline. Congrats to Rory. Lovely, lovely event.
I mean, I think you look at this Masters, I think the way the round played out, as you said, what made this so invigorating to watch, because there were so many times where you just counted Rory out. You were like, this is the collapse, this is the beginning, he's going to completely
start
fall
on the first
apart.
hole.
And he just pulled himself back up so many times. And there was something just really romantic about it when it comes to the sport of golf. All 3 of us play right there. There's times where you go up there and you're just like, I just have to hit the best shot of my life right now, or this is going to completely fall apart.
And how many times did he? 15, he puts the ball to 4 feet and doesn't hit it.
15 is one of the best.
That was one of the most ridiculous.
How about the playoffs? Justin Rose puts it inside 20 feet. Rory said, I'll one-up you and put it inside 4.
And you know what the coolest part about the shot on 15 was, too, is I loved the walk after. The walk after
only he
was
made the
great.
Cut. If only he made the putt.
If only he made the putt. But, man, the walk after that, you could see the swagger. But
Tiger-esque.
You saw that same swagger, but there were times where you could see the just fear in the freeze from Rory, but then you'd see him get over it, which I thought was so cool and so powerful. And then it just all culminates. He makes that putt, and you can literally just feel this burden just be released from his body.
I will say I'm not as much of a Rory fan. I'm a golf fan. I'm a diehard sports fan, and I love a good storyline when I see one. I'm not a huge Rory fan, though. I was very excited when he missed that putt on 18. I definitely had Bryson to win. But it was still awesome to see the collapse. And then as soon as the ball hit the bottom of the cup in the playoff, the sports fan in me kind of took over, and I was so happy just to see that moment, to like live through that moment, to watch. It's like watching the Cubs win the World Series. It just was like a moment that's so much bigger than a fandom. Just to see him fall like on the ground and just cry because he was so happy to win, to get the career Grand Slam done. I was so excited. He could. Do we think he has another? He definitely has. He's only 35 years old. He's got majors left.
He has a chance to win one more this year.
That's what I'm saying.
Going back to
we could drive down that rabbit hole too.
I have a question for you guys though. When he took the putt in the playoff to win the Masters, did you think he was going to lip it out?
Yes.
No.
I thought he was going. I thought he at the first second I thought he hit. I thought he pulled it again, and then I was like, oh, he made it.
In fact, when they hit both of those shots, I took Justin Rose to win.
I think something that it's been talked about everywhere.
Jake is not a Rory McIlroy fan, in case anyone is confused at this point.
It's been talked about everywhere, and if you're on golf Twitter or read golf.com, you'll see it. But when Rory makes that putt, the legendary Jim Nantz and Trevor Illman did such a good job of creating the landscape, of just letting Rory have his moment, letting him going up to his wife and his little girl, going up to Dottie, Shane Lowry waiting there for him, Tommy Fleetwood. We asked why the Europeans are so good at Ryder Cups. Well, there's the point right there. They're waiting after the round. But the fact that for 7 minutes and 50 seconds, Jim Nantz, one of the greatest, if not the greatest broadcaster of all time, and Trevor Illman, who's won a green jacket, said a total of 49 words. One, speaks to a level of class that these guys have and that carries with Augusta National. And two, just the skill that production team and Jim Nantz have of this is his moment, this is history, just enjoy it.
In what other sporting event could you do that for?
Exactly.
Could you let your broadcasters go silent for 7 minutes and just let the audio of the people in the moment tell a story that's more convincing than anything else?
One moment that comes to mind other than this, the Blue Jays 1999. I'm drawing who hit.
I wasn't born then. I wasn't alive.
Yeah, this is how.
I wasn't alive.
When they won.
He's a grad student, if you can't tell.
The walk-off home run in 1999 to go back-to-back in the World Series. Drawing a blank on the name. Dang. But one of the great all-time moments. He's fist pumping, running around first base, and like I can visualize it. And he's going nuts. And when broadcasters go quiet like that and just let a moment breathe, it is like
it's
one of the
coolest
coolest
thing ever.
things.
And something we have to mention, obviously this talk is going to be centered around Rory, but Justin Rose is a world-class golfer and maybe a better even person. He had 10 birdies on this Sunday. He obviously explodes in round one and is on top of the leaderboard and then takes a couple step backs Friday and Saturday. Sunday, he had just one par on the second 9 at Augusta. That's one of the hardest second 9s in golf, and being able to birdie that, shooting 66, and then putting one pretty close and almost winning it. His putt on 18 doesn't get talked about much. That was insane. Just to put the pressure on Rory, he makes that. And then after the round, just how world-class he was. One, he's played in Ryder Cups with Rory McIlroy. He knows how much this means to Rory, and congratulating him. And I hate to say it, but in 2017, this was the same story for Justin Rose. He goes into a playoff against Sergio Garcia, another person he played with in Ryder Cups. Of course, both of them representing the Europeans and losing. Justin Rose is going to get there. It was awesome seeing a player who's getting up there in age, who's not a part of this younger generation, play like that at Augusta.
And he's still walking away with, what, $2.3 million?
The money doesn't matter.
And this is the only tournament on earth where the money does. You can
I can feel a little bit better about my play if I'm walking home with $2.3 million.
I agree.
I can feel just a little bit better.
I think so. I had a couple takeaways from watching this Masters that I want to bring up. Bryson, just to be clear, I'm a huge Bryson DeChambeau fan.
My swing wasn't there. My swing wasn't there.
Always have been. Finished 7 under a T5 finish. He will win at Augusta at some point in his career.
No, he won't.
I think he does. That was my biggest takeaway. I think he plays that course
really
well.
He hit 9 greens on his Saturday round.
And somehow scored well.
Can dominate U.S. Open courses. He can, which he did. He completely tore up Winged Foot and what they try to put at him for the USGA. But the thing about Augusta is all about hitting greens and making putts. Let's look at the previous winners. Hideki Matsuyama, Scotty Scheffler.
The thing is, he can only play a draw, though.
That's
His
the
swing
problem.
pattern is he only plays a draw.
He was the best short game player within 20 yards of the green.
Why? Because he's missing 9 greens around. That's
But if
why.
he was a bad, or like around the green player, he would have missed the cut.
I love, and Jim Nantz said it great on the first tee. Obviously, Rory's very locked in. Of course, stress coming with the final round in
Didn't
the final
talk
group.
to each other.
Bryson DeChambeau walks up the first tee like he's Arnold Palmer, high-fiving everyone. I love that. He's done a great job of swinging his PR of
100%.
the guy getting attacked by a rope and putting science towards golf, and someone that, let's be honest, golf Twitter and golf media doesn't really like, to creating these YouTube channels, being fans first, and doing a great job restructuring his image, because he's always been a maverick in golf. He's always been someone different. You haven't seen a guy like that, whether it's wearing the hats or using his scientific methods when it comes to putting
All the
and his
clubs
short
being
game.
the same length.
However, as I mentioned, he does a great job of getting fans into the sport. It's just for this, I think he wasn't in the same mindset as Rory. Rory double bogeyed the first hole. If Bryson takes this lead going into the second 9, specifically going to Amen corner, Bryson wins it. But when the opportunity is there, he did not step up when needed.
I also do. So that was my first. The second being, I think Ludwig Oberg wins a major in the next 2 years. I think
those odds were probably minus 500.
I know, but
He's the best player I've seen since Jordan out of high school, probably.
How old is he? He's young. Like,
super young. I mean, he only played, I believe, 2 years at Arizona State, beat every single record that Phil Mickelson put together. So he's going to be not only a fear for the Europeans for the Ryder Cup because they found their guy for the next 20 years, but also just in general. I mean, the guy's 25 years old, playing in 2 Masters, and already putting up these finishes. It's world-class stuff.
2 top 10, not just good, like 2 top 10 finishes, which is so awesome to see. I'm kind of curious who's like the next up-and-coming golfer. He is that. It's him. It's Batia. It's
Maverick
Magala,
McNeely.
It's Maverick McNeely. There's a few other guys on that very short list of like next. I guess now you can say next Rory McIlroy, next Scotty Scheffler, next up and coming of this next generation. Ludwig Oberg is that guy, especially for the European team. On the other side of this break, we have a special guest coming in, ESPN producer Bill Bonnell. So stick around after the break and check that out.
Bonnell.
My fault.
Bonnell.
Sorry, Bill. My fault.
Is he in?
I don't know.
I thought we were trying to go late. I thought that was the whole thing. No?
No.
Sorry.
Whenever
My bad.
we just want to break. He should be joining us. All right, he's on.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
What do we got?
Let's do it.
Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
Have some fun, and then I get to go home and take a nap.
Ooh, I gotta do JNL 221 final project.
HTML.
Oh yeah, HTML CCS. Gotta love it.
Actually, you guys going to Bob Costas tonight?
Yeah. Again, beautiful thing about Newhouse is you're a student, you get the privilege of having Bob Costas come to talk to you for a night. We get these phenomenal facilities too.
If anyone is in the chat still listening to us,
Okay. All right, awesome.
We trust you.
How's it going?
Hey guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, we're inside the Newhouse. We're inside the brand new Sports Media Center right now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
Are
sure
we
they
on
had
the
these
air?
when you were here.
Are we on the air now, or are you in a commercial?
We're on a break now, and then
Okay,
James
cool.
will welcome us in. They can
Okay.
listen to us on Twitch, but for radio, we're on break.
This is Connor, and then this is Jake.
Thank you for joining us.
Connor McGinn
Hey,
and Jake
guys.
Lazarus.
For some reason, my box is like covering you guys, so I can't see you. But I'll try to figure it out on my end.
Okay.
we can see you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
That's all that matters.
See if I can figure this thing out. Huh. Oh well.
I forgot the I should have said that 12 people have gone to the moon in the last 55 years. In that time span, only 2 golfers have completed the Grand Slam.
Tiger
and Rory.
And the next
we
one.
were just talking Masters before this.
Yeah, how about that?
That was awesome.
You can't make anything better as a producer. Rory in the playoff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Huge.
And
Yeah,
we'll
I think it peaked at 19.7.
Biggest Masters in 7 years.
We'll save it for when we go on the air here. But I think that was pretty amazing.
We were talking during our segment as well how Jim Nantz and Trevor Ailman, the last 7 minutes of Rory walking around Augusta with the green jacket and celebrating with Shane Lowry and Tommy Fleetwood, didn't say a word. Do you think that was something that they were told, or just Jim Nantz's natural habitat saying, let this moment seek?
I think it was a combination of both. I think they probably had a conversation about it, but Jim Nantz is a seasoned veteran who really understands the audience and stuff, and understands the moment, recognizing the moment. And I think he immediately recognized that he needed to lay out, which he did a great job on. He was complimented by several different media outlets I saw for him laying out and everything. So I thought that was really well done on his part and the production's part, for sure.
Did you see the intro of Nantz and John Legend doing the Nerves? It was awesome.
I did not see that.
CBS's features were awesome.
I was driving back from Canada, so I was listening on the radio.
Tirico have the call? He had it for Sirius, I believe.
It was in French at first when I was in Canada. Then when I got over the border, it switched to English. Okay.
I didn't know Tirico was a Frenchman.
Yeah.
Who knew?
He had a great call too.
Man of many traits.
He's man of many traits.
Favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back into Newhouse Afternoon. James Wildhack, Connor McGannon to my right, Jake Lazarus to my left. We are super excited because we have a guest here for this afternoon. We have Bill Bonnell, an ESPN producer. For more than 4 decades, he has held the industry standard when it comes to sports production. He has more than a dozen Emmys to his name and was named one of the power players in the sports world by Sports Business Journal in 2018. His new venture now is producing the UFL for the ESPN and integrating new technology into production. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this afternoon.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun to spend a half hour with you guys. So, speaking of the UFL, it was funny. We were talking in the break about the Masters, and unfortunately, my game on Sunday was up against the end of the Masters. So I'm not sure too many people were watching my DC Defenders against the St. Louis Battlehawks, but what an ending to the Masters for sure.
No, yeah, the ending to the Masters was phenomenal. Rory McIlroy finally gets the Grand Slam. And you talked about the UFL production right there. You guys are doing a lot of new technology when it comes to integrating new perspectives and new ideas when it comes to a sports production. The first one I want to talk about is the Mindfly cameras you guys have introduced during training camps that have allowed us to get a new angle. I believe linebackers and players on the field being able to see their perspective.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process. So the UFL is supplying 2 Mindfly cameras per side of the ball. So we decided to put it on the middle linebacker, as the player that wears the green dot, which means that they hear the calls coming in from the defensive coordinator, and then they make the calls on the field and everything. So, so we put a Mindfly camera on them so that we can, isolate, take an isolation shot of that player, see the output of the chest cam and making the adjustments and everything. But, it's a tremendous technology. We've used those type of cameras on referees, like the referee hats for the college football playoff and for college football and stuff. But, actually having them on the players is a lot of fun to be able to cut that in during the game.
James talked about the new technology, and that's something that's just moving forward in every aspect of the sport. With the UFL and as a producer, what's it like utilizing drones and these different cutting-edge technology for you? Is that something that you push forward, or is it something that's difficult to manage that really takes time in the off-season to learn?
Yeah, first of all, I love drones, and I use it on I use drones on Saturday Night Football. We use it. We can't use it over people, so we use it more of a wide shot or campus shots and stuff like that. But with the UFL coverage, Fox actually uses it on the field, and Jordan Rogers, my analyst, and I always text back and forth when we're watching the UFL on Fox. It just cracks us up seeing these like drones flying all over the place and stuff. But on ABC and ESPN and Disney won't allow us to use drones, so we can't use drones on the field yet. Fox does, but as I said, I love drones, and our director Jimmy Platt on Saturday Night Football during the falls always cuts those in, and it's just terrific.
I kind of wanted to build on that in terms of like the technology and a production, and I'm super interested in what networks do comparatively to each other, whether it's ESPN, CBS, NBC, Amazon. I mean, the list goes on. But in your career, you've worked for a handful of different networks. Which of the networks that you've worked for have been the most like cutting edge in terms of technology built into production rather than just the traditional standard norms?
Well, that's a good question. Like, to me, like technology in sports television has always started with the Olympics. And, I started my career with ABC in the 80s on the Olympics. And they had a whole research design department that Roger Goodman, he was our coordinating director, kind of ran. And so it was always like the Olympics always pushed the envelope as far as like technology and testing technology and stuff like that. And then eventually when I went to NBC, Dick Ebersol made it a huge point to continue the technology and everything. We had diving cam and rail cam and stuff like that. And I know they still, I'm sure they still add technology to this day as part of the Olympic coverage, but I always look at it as like an Olympic thing first. But with the UFL, I think the one thing that's going to really resonate with the fans, and especially the NFL, is the access that we have with the game official or replay booth with Dean Blandino in the Fox Command Center. I think that will eventually, I hope anyway, could definitely be implemented in NFL broadcasts and college football broadcasts. And I could see that technology, coming from the UFL. When we first did, I first did the XFL, and I think it was 2000, 2001, whenever it was. I was really proud of the production that we had on the XFL, because we had Skycam or the Skycam, and we had on the field cameras, both of which were adopted into NFL coverage like the next year. So I'm looking at that some of this UFL technology that we're doing will eventually seep into some of those broadcasts and stuff. But we're always pushing the envelope in sports television, no matter what network it is. And, we're all very competitive and stuff, trying to find the next thing for whatever sport we're working on. So, all of them, Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, ESPN, we're always looking for that next thing. So
there's always new technology in sports broadcasting. I feel like every year there's like another feature that fans had no idea that was coming. I myself do a lot of research into production and media rights and sports business, being what I've grown up with. In terms of streamers, there are always pieces of technology that fans aren't aware of. Is there something that you're keeping your eye on as we move into the latter part of the 2020s that is like the next first down line?
Yeah, that's a great question. You sound like you grew up with someone in sports television. You might want to tell your audience at some point who your dad is. But
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's a good question. I really think the audio and stuff, but for me, I'm a Buffalo's Bills fan, so watching the
Sorry
NFL,
to hear that.
Yeah, I know. Big Josh Allen, Buffalo
Was it a
Bills
first
fan.
down?
Yeah, exactly. That exactly where I'm going with that. So, I think we have this thing called True Line in the UFL, which is supposed to, track where the ball is and first downs and stuff, but it's really not. The technology is not really there yet, because you're relying on the official placing the ball down onto the field. And once they figure out the chip in the ball and you're able to track the ball kind of like tennis does with shot spot, as soon as they're able to figure that out, where bodies block the football obviously and stuff, but that'll be like a game changer. That'll be just like next level for sure.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a quick break on radio real quick. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. The conversation continues on QSportsTalk.com. And we're out. Okay. And then we're talking about too, when it comes to the UFL, is it's not even just the technology that's evolving too. It's the way fans can interact with the game as well. There's a lot more in-game betting sports conversation that you guys are doing with your UFL production. How has that evolved over time? And based on state regulations, does that change based on where you're producing a game from?
That's interesting. We have Aaron Dolan from ESPN Bet. Everything's on the table as far as like, can't really say gambling anymore, but betting.
Educated guessing?
Yeah, exactly. So we produce all our games in Bristol, Connecticut, Remy style. So I'm actually, this is the first time in my career that I haven't been on site producing a game. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so but Erin's in the control room with us in Bristol, and she has the ESPN Bet show on that she works on, but everything's player props, over under, futures, like who's going to win the championship game and all that stuff. I mean, all of it's up for play, so there's like really no restrictions as far as I know.
With your experience working for the XFL and now the UFL, and of course your time with college football, for each league, are you attempting to cover it in a different way so people aren't watching UFL broadcasts and thinks, well, this is just a carbon copy of what the NFL will put out, or if I'm watching a college football game, does the way you produce and the way you create a rundown and what graphics you want to put on the screen, does that differ, or do you kind of stick to the same script?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The UFL, I told all our people the other day, we had our big meeting on Tuesday, and this is we just finished our third week of the UFL. I told them, hey, look, we can't take our foot off the pedal on the technology and just all the aspects of us being able to do whatever we want in the UFL. If our games look like just a typical fall college football game, we're not doing the right thing. We really have to push the envelope on the UFL and just give the viewers an experience that they don't normally get on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. So we're always pushing the envelope with that. And, I think we were laughing this morning. I was talking to somebody, but, it's so different than producing an NFL or college football game doing the UFL. And we were just saying to ourselves, we're going to have to unlearn some bad habits, because you're used to being able to do whatever you want, and it's a different way of producing. I'll give you an example. So let's say team calls a timeout, so you're going to have a little bit extra time in your telecast. So you think, oh, wow, this is a great time to get an element and, roll in an element or do something else. Where in the UFL, you want to walk with the quarterback to the coach and listen to hear what they have to say. So it's a very different thing, what we do in the spring and what we do in the fall. So,
Bill, I got the ultimate Lazarus question for you. So looking at
good.
the UFL's media rights, right? It's 1-year deals across the board, especially globally. How does that impact how you're producing games? Does that give you a little more free reign into what you can do, knowing that the contract is up after this year regardless, and they're probably going to go, if it's successful, they're going to go fish for whatever it is, the $500 million contract. Are you paying attention to that stuff at all as a producer, or are you kind of leaving that to your sales team and your EPs and beyond?
Yeah, I do probably more so in the off season, because, you know, like during the season, I'm so concentrated and focused in on producing the actual show. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I hope our relationship continues with the UFL, because, you know, we have a very good relationship with us, and they like
ESPN 97.7
for a second. I know we're going back on.
Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back into Newhouse Afternoon. Connor McGannon to my right, Jake Lazarus to our left. We've been continuing our conversation with ESPN executive producer Bill Bonnell about the new technologies being used within the UFL and sports production as a whole. And when it comes to these new technologies too, players or fans look at the players differently. You had a quote in an article where you said, "I don't think we can lose sight of humanizing the players." Earlier this year in the college football playoff, there was the infamous incident of Parker Jones, the Georgia walk-on, stepping onto the field, causing a huge momentum play for Georgia to sway back, and he faced a lot of scrutiny on social media. As a producer, how do you think, what is the ethically responsible way to cover that, acknowledging he was a huge part of the game without kind of, you know, using him as a scapegoat for a fan base to attack?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to answer the first part of that question is, you know, with all the technology that we have, sometimes as a producer and as a broadcast, the technology can overshadow the humanization of the people that you're covering. So I always tell everybody, especially with our UFL coverage, like the technology is great and everything, and it's really important for us to really show that. But if you don't give the viewer a vested interest in who they're watching or humanize the quarterback or the players a certain way, then nobody's going to really care. I mean, then it's just like, oh, wow, look at the great technology. You know, it's really the humanization and personalization of the players that really can make a broadcast stand out. As far as the player stepping on the field, I wasn't producing that game. I was producing the other game, but yeah, it's, you know, you have to cover it, right? You have to document what's going on in the game and everything else. And I think that you know, you just don't want to go overboard. You just have to, you know, document the game and you kind of have to tell the story. So, you know, the producer and the director kind of had to go ahead and show and bring that up and everything. But I can't remember. I think it was Sean McDonough and McElroy who called that game, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you know, I think they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You are a staple in ESPN itself of millions of college fans, sports fans, really anyone on Saturday mornings during college football season with College Game Day. I just want to start of what's it like working with legends of college football: Desmond Howard, Reese Davis, Pat McAfee, arguably the greatest college football coach of all time, Nick Saban, and Lee Corso and Kurt Herbstreit to round out what I would call the dream team of college sports. What's that dynamic like of working with some of the top personalities and putting together an amazing segment week in and week out traveling the country?
Yeah, well, first of all, what's funny about that statement is that I always get mistaken for being the producer of Game Day, which I'm not. Jim Guerrero is the producer of Game Day. So the funny thing about that is, like, for years, like everybody says, you know, game day, and I always say, well, what about the game? I actually do the actual game, and it's funny because, like, nobody cares, man. I mean, they're like, it's all about game day. and you're right. Those are all legends, and I obviously bump into them all the time. Like Reese Davis is a very good friend of mine. Obviously, Kirk Herbstreit, I've worked with them for 20 years doing games. They're awesome at what they do, and Herbie is the hardest worker I've ever seen in my life, getting ready for our game. And not only our game, I mean, look what he does. He does the NFL Thursday night for Amazon. He travels, does game day, and then we may or may not be on the same site as game day. Then he travels to me wherever our game is. So it's just amazing. Then usually Friday night, his son Chase usually has a football game, so he goes to watch his son play high school football. Was a quarterback in Cincinnati. So yeah, I mean, it's such a great thing to have been a part of. I feel blessed to be a part of it, and game day and the game every week is just it's been a great to be a part of the ride of that.
College football itself this year went to new waves, not just new numbers or reaching milestones, but also expanding the college football playoff. You were on site for these games. You were there watching these college crowds be a part of a playoff atmosphere that's unlike anything before. These games aren't at the Rose Bowl or the Mercedes-Benz Dome just for round one anymore. Of course, they are moving forward, but these teams get that home field advantage that is unlike anything we've seen in college athletics. What was your experience like this year watching that, being a part of that atmosphere, but also moving forward in the future as there is talks of the playoff growing and talks of just expanding what is right now the college football scenario?
Yeah, I did the Tennessee Ohio State game in Columbus, but the night before was the Notre Dame game, and to me that was just magical, that whole scene.
That was awesome.
And I get chills about it now thinking about it, because in the pregame show, them walking in was some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. And I sent Phil Dean and Scott Johnson, the producer and director, a note. Like, I don't know why you asking me that question. I immediately just thought of that moment, and it's just great to have these games in the home fields like that in the beginning of the playoffs and stuff, and I hope it continues. And I think it's great for college football. It's great for the fans, and it's just terrific. I mean, I can't say enough about it. And the one example was the Notre Dame game. To me, was just next level.
And we got time for one last question. We want to bring it back here to the Hill. Being an alumni of Newhouse yourself, and a CNY native as well, being from this area, this community, having the network, what did your experience at Newhouse mean to you for your professional career, and what has the greater CNY community meant to you throughout your life?
Wow, yeah. So I grew up in North Syracuse, New York. So Syracuse University was always a dream of mine to go there. And I started being interested in TV at a very young age. I worked at WCNY TV, which is a public broadcasting station in Syracuse. I think I started when I was about 16 years old. So I started producing sports about 17, 18 years old. We used to have Syracuse Cable Systems used to have their own mobile unit. WCNY had their own mobile unit. So I got involved very young age. And, it means everything to me. I mean, to say that you went to Newhouse and, graduated from Newhouse and went there is a great accomplishment and something to be proud of. And, I worked with Bob Costas at NBC for years, and, just look at all the great announcers that came from Syracuse University. Bob Costas being probably the greatest of them all in sports television history.
He's here back here tonight talking to us.
Is he really?
Yeah. We'll go tonight.
5 to 6.
Please tell him I said hello. I think it was back in November. when in NBC when we had the number 1 against number 2, the Florida State Notre Dame game in 1993.
Yep, 1993.
Yeah, I produced the opening of that, and Tommy produced the game, and I was his ISO producer. But I produced the opening of that game, and Bob voiced it. And recently, somebody sent out that opening and said that they really liked it. And Bob was very gracious enough to tell everybody that I actually produced it, and he gave me a shout out and stuff. But that's the last time I really talk to him, but that's great to hear that he's there tonight. He's the greatest sports broadcaster in the history in our business, and he's a great man.
Well, hey, we got to get you back up here too on the hill. A 35-year hiatus from the Dome is way too long. I mean, Come on. I know you don't produce game day, but you got some pull. We got to get the quad jumping. I need the Home Depot signs. I need Ben up here. We need it all.
It worked last year with Miami. I'm just saying.
It could have been the Miami.
Just saying.
It could have been the Miami game.
I know. We got 20 seconds. Oh my gosh.
We got 20 seconds. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
We greatly appreciate it.
The one and only Bill Bonnell, one of the most decorated men in all of sports broadcasting.
Well,
thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Please tell your dad I said hello too.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.